Broadcasting live from a dumpy little warehouse behind a Taco Bell, the host of Charlotte County Speaks, helping to redefeat Marxism in America, Ken Lovejoy.
News Radio 1580 WCCF. This is Charlotte County Speaks. How you doing? I'm Ken Lovejoy on a Tuesday at 9:09. Thanks for listening. Phone in 941-206-1580. Toll free 888-441-1580. Our email address is ccspeaks@live.com. Check out our Charlotte County Speaks Facebook page and listen to us streaming live on the web at WCCFAM.com. I'd like to welcome to the studio right now candidate for Charlotte County Sheriff. It's Jim Melo, ladies and gentlemen. Jim.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing awesome, sir.
Good. Now, this your first? Well, isn't your first time on the show. You were on show back in 2008, I believe.
Yes, sir.
When you ran for sheriff back then. Tell people about, for those who might not know you, tell everybody who you are, how long you've been here, why you're running for sheriff.
As you stated before, I did run for sheriff in 2008. Kind of have the same theme as I had them. Okay, I think that community policing is extremely important, and it needs to be reinstituted back into our community. I've been here for almost 30 years. I'm a local business owner. I own Jamie's Christian Book Nook over on 41, and I have been part of this community for like I said, almost 30 years. What I bring to the table is I've retired from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, and since then I have observed what happens within the office. I was the jail administrator, corrections administrator, and courts administrator, and I've kind of watched the budget, and the budget again is climbing to $62 million. I don't feel we're getting $62 million worth of law enforcement here in Charlotte County. I think it deserves a change, and it deserves someone that has the leadership and the experience to bring it forward. If you remember when I ran back in 2008, we talked about how many tax dollars I saved the community when I was the corrections administrator. We opened a new jail on Airport Road. Mm-hmm. That jail has come under direct scrutiny in the last 3 years for several reasons, and I think it's important that someone steps up to the plate. It is the largest part of the budget, and I think being the largest part of the budget, it needs to be looked at. It needs to be looked at closely. I'm not going to make it any secret. I mean, we have 5 inmates that have passed away in the last 3 years within the corrections facility, and some of them are based on use of forces. And I think the leadership is responsible for what happens there, and I think they're making excuses for mental health and addiction, and I think that's ridiculous. That's part of law enforcement.
Now, as we were talking before the show, and Court Froelich had brought up last hour how the closing of G. Pierce Woods has kind of thrown a lot of the people with mental health issues wind up in the jails. And this happened back in 2002.
Yes, it did. I mean, the closing of G. Pierce Woods is something that I dealt with when I was a jail administrator. I just did an article for the newspaper that was printed on Saturday. And in that article, we talked about mental health and addiction and it being part of law enforcement. The average citizen out there that doesn't have addiction problems or mental health problems don't generally have negative contact with law enforcement. People that have addiction problems and mental health problems are the ones that generally do have contact with law enforcement. This is something that we had to realize and adapt to 13, 15 years ago. We talk about how we addressed this issue, and that issue was addressed when we built the new jail and opened it on Airport Road. So we can bring this issue back to the table today, but it's no different than the issue that we suffered and we went through back when G. Pierce Wood originally closed. Do we suffer through not having state facilities available through the mental health? Yes, but understand that these people generally become an inmate before they become a patient. Mm-hmm. And people don't want to stop and realize that. We can tout all the statistics in the world, okay? But statistics aren't necessarily reality. Okay, there's an article in the newspaper about crime stats, okay? Mm-hmm. It's how it's reported, it's what's reported that creates a facade for the voter, okay, that may not be a true picture of the actual environment in which we're in.
Do you have any disagreement with the article this morning in the Sun?
I don't have a disagreement with how it's been reported.
Okay.
Okay. We decide how we're going to classify a crime.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you classify a crime, okay, that may not be, it just may not be a prudent statistic that was actually the crime that was committed. In other words, you could start grouping crimes together too.
Okay, yeah.
So when you start
taking a broad spectrum of crimes and grouping them into one.
Crimes, you're grouping it into one category, okay, which doesn't really give you a depiction of what all the crimes were within that category, which makes your statistics null and void. It's been a statistic game way back when I was with the sheriff's office.
No,
okay? And it always is.
It's government.
It's government. Okay, but you want to talk about statistics, we go right on back to the jail, and let's look at the statistics there, okay? Your jail population is pretty much close to the same when it was when I was a jail administrator.
And what is that?
Okay, I believe I looked at the statistics for 2015 on the annual report, and there were an average of 700 inmates per day. Okay, we had the same issue when we built a new jail. We were housing inmates out of county, in Hernando County, down in Key West. We had inmates all over the place.
Is that still the case? Are they still taking in a lot of inmates from other parts of the state?
No, they have a federal contract, okay, within the jail now, and they house federal inmates, which we always did, which supplements the budget, by the way. Okay, that's not a bad thing.
No.
If you have empty wings...
You got the room and you can make some money off it, do it.
If you have empty wings and empty beds, we should be generating more than what we're generating now. Okay, so when you start looking at the empty bed situation, we should be talking about what kind of contracts do we have with federal marshals, how should it be increased, and we need to keep this constant handshake and partnership with the U.S. Marshals. We should never let that go away. And it's been tainted before, okay? It's been tainted under other sheriffs before. However, if you talk about statistics and you look at the annual report, let's talk about a statistic. Let's talk about the inmates that have passed away in that jail. Okay, there's 5 of them. I'm holding 5 sheets of paper in here in my hand of 5 inmates that passed away in the last 3 years. Okay, if you look at that, you go back and you look at their use of force on their annual report from last year. If you look at 2011 physical force, there's 30 people. You look at 2012, there's 36. 2013, there's 36. And all of a sudden, 2014, the physical use of force jumps to 74 and 76 consecutively. That indicates a problem, okay, in a leadership model as to what's happening in the jail with use of force. All of a sudden, we went from 30 uses of forces on the physical side to 74. A mature leader, when I say mature leader, I'm not talking about age. I use that term quite often about a mature leader. I'm talking about a leader that's seasoned and understands the environment. I'm talking about a leader that's got 30 years of experience like I do in leadership. No one else can match my leadership that's running for sheriff today. You could take the other candidates and add your leadership experience together, and it doesn't exceed mine. Okay, so I'm talking about a seasoned leader, someone that's mature, that's done this before, that understands the landscape and looks at it with wisdom, education, and understanding. Those 3 things have got to be taken into aspect when you're talking about leadership.
All right. Good on you. And so how's it been going this time around?
Well,
because you're doing your campaign a little differently this time.
I am doing my campaign a little differently. I want to say one thing. I want to say it right.
You've actually mellowed a bit, Jim.
Well, there goes that seasoning with maturity.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, and you do, as you get older, I hope you get wiser. One of the things that I wanted to look at, Ken, in this community, and let me say it right up front because I'm wearing it on my chest, okay, that God's first in this campaign, all right? I probably should have said it with my introduction. Okay, I'm not real good at introductions. Okay,
That's
I kind of like to get into the meat of the subjects and talk about the subjects that are currently at hand. Okay, but I want to talk about being a constitutional sheriff. Okay, we look at the Constitution and there's more than one amendment. All of my opponents are out there saying Second Amendment, Second Amendment. I don't have any problem with the Second Amendment. Okay, but there was another G word before gun, and that was God. And God's in my First Amendment, and my First Amendment gets trampled upon every single day of the week. So when is somebody going to stand up and say, hey, God's got to be first? In my opinion, this country was founded by our founding fathers, and it's a Christian country. And God is in our First Amendment. Why? Because God should be first. Okay, so that's part of my campaign, is putting God out there because God should be first. I mean, I start my day with God every day. I told you I run the Christian bookstore in town. Okay. I mean, if you're going to talk the talk, you also have to walk the walk. If you remember back in 2008, I said the same thing. I'm not going to take donations. I can only be beholding to my Heavenly Father. I can't be beholding to man. Okay? This time around, I elected to take donations. I learned something in 2008. You can't win a campaign without money. Okay, Mr. Cameron spent $166,000 to win that campaign. Okay, I spent $9,000.
It's always been the most, historically, it's always been the most expensive election locally. Yes.
And you're correct, Ken. Historically, it has been. Okay, I look at my opponents today. One of them has almost $60,000 in the bank. Okay, I want to win an election. I don't want to buy one. I'm not going to buy, ever will I buy an election. I'm allowing fellow Christians and fellow business partners to donate to my campaign this time, be part of my campaign. Okay, they understand it's a God-first campaign, and he's got to be first. There was an article in the newspaper that says, I'm going to create a God squad. I would hope the God squad's already there.
Yeah.
Okay? We can use sarcasm in politics and religion all day long. Okay? But sarcasm, number one, doesn't win elections. Okay? Sarcasm doesn't get the job done. Okay? This isn't about sarcasm. It's not saying that someone else is doing something wrong. This is me. This is what I stand for. And if that's what you want to put a Christian leader, okay, into this office, okay, and allow the deputies to worship, to pray. I mean, I was given a report by a deputy that a sergeant told him, don't pray in a squad room. That's for church. Really? If my deputies are going to put on a gun and a badge and put their life on the line, and they want to talk to their God, they can do that anywhere, anytime, and anyhow.
All right. Do you have a website up?
I have a website up. It's Jim Melo for Sheriff, FOR.com. I also have a Facebook page.
I know you got a Facebook page, so that's great. And are these a mailer? Are you passing these out?
These palm cards that I gave you is a handout. Okay, I hand them out to anybody that wants to talk about me or know more about me. The other thing I'd like to bring up is the acronym of GIFTS. Okay, GIFT stands for God, integrity, finances, transparency, and S for service. And if you take those 5 things and you put them back in the sheriff's office, okay, you will have one operation that will not quit, especially when we go back to God and we go back to service. Servitude is important.
All right. Now, you're coming to the candidates forum on July 28th, correct?
Yes, sir.
At the Punta Gorda Courthouse?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I will be there.
Excellent. We're broadcasting live from there again at 6 p.m. And, folks, we're taking your questions. Email the questions that you want asked of the sheriff's candidates, county commissioner, school board, airport authority, tax collector, and clerk of the court. Email those questions to ccspeaks@live.com, and we will be choosing the best ones and asking them of all of the candidates coming up on July 28th. Jim Melo, once again, ladies and gentlemen, melloforsheriff.com. And I want to thank you very much for coming on in, and best of luck to you in the upcoming election. Now, you're going all the way to the general election.
Yes, sir. My opponent did not qualify.
I saw that.
So, yes, I am the only Democrat in the race, okay, for sheriff. And, we'll be right to the November 8th election.
All right. Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
God bless. Jim Melo, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for him. Quick break, and we'll be right back on News Radio 1580 WCCF.
It's back. Coors Light presents the sizzling summer concert series. Join us at the 4 Points Sheraton Tiki Bar on the Harbor in downtown Punta Gorda, Saturday, July 16th, as we present the country sound of Jack Michael. Show starts at 5 p.m. with the sounds of Neon Summer, followed by Jack Michael. Get ready to dance. Don't miss it. Saturday, July 16th, 4 Points Tiki Bar, sponsored by Coors Light, Palm Auto Ball, and iHeartRadio.
Many health insurance plans now cover drug and alcohol abuse as a disease that can be treated. Maybe you thought only movie stars could afford treatment for an addiction? New rules have changed that. Now, real help is affordable if you call 800-885-HOPE.
I was on my way to losing everything.